Today we are going to be learning how to solve literal equations. Solving literal equations. So how do you know if something is an equation? Okay, I assume that you figured out what it means to be an equation. So a literal equation is an equation that has more than one variable. So a really good one to talk about is the equation distance equals rate times time. That's a literal equation. It has three variables. And you can solve for the variables on the right side of the equation. You can solve for r and you can solve for t. Before we do that, I want to show you an example where we have numbers. Let's say we have this equation 3 equals 2 times x. We've talked in the past about isolating the variable, getting it all by itself. So let's say we wanted to get x by itself. We do what's called inverse operations. So one thing to remember is that multiplication and division are inverse operations. Okay. So if you look at the x, you can see what operation is being done to x. Notice that operation is multiply. 2 is multiplied to x. So to undo multiply, we have to divide. So we're going to divide both sides of our equation by 2, and then we get 1x, or just x equals 3/2. Okay, so let's say in our literal equation, distance equals rate times time, we want to solve for the rate. Let's say we want to get the r all by itself. So first we have to decide what is being done to the r. What operation is being done to the r? So please raise your hand and answer the question, what operation is being done to r? Okay, and what is the inverse of that operation? Raise your hand. Nice job. Thanks for raising your hand quietly. Okay, so the inverse of multiply is divide. So if we want to solve for r, we're going to divide both sides by t. Notice that we get 1 times r equals distance divided by time. So there's one example. Now I'm going to show you another one. How about this one? Force equals mass times acceleration. Let's say we wanted to solve for a. The letter A. We want to find out what acceleration is. So we'll start by saying what operation is being done to A. So go ahead and get that question answered. What operation is being done to A? Excellent, is being multiplied. So the inverse of multiply, what is the inverse of being multiplied? Divide. Good, so we're going to divide both sides by m. Cancel the m's, we get 1 times a, which is a, and it equals F divided by m. Or force divided by mass equals acceleration. So that is another example. I'm going to do another example that may seem a little bit difficult. And it's only because there's so many subscripts. But don't stress out and don't get scared of these. So v sub s divided by v sub p equals n sub s divided by n sub p. I'm hoping these are looking familiar. Maybe something you do in your science class. Let's say we wanted to solve for n sub p. We want to get n sub p all by itself. Now you may think, well, wait a minute. This is it just might seem a little confusing. Like, what am I going to do? Oh no! Ah! Don't get scared. This is one that you can do a cross multiplying. You guys remember about the cross product property? So if two ratios are equal, you can use cross products to find a missing variable. So we're going to multiply straight across the equal sign to get v sub s times n sub p equals v sub p times n sub s. Now remember, we're solving for n sub p. Now this is the part where you can find the operation that's being done to n sub p. So go ahead, let's figure that one out. So what operation is being done to n sub p? Okay, you guys are getting a lot quicker at this. So it's being multiplied, and the inverse of multiply is correct. Are you correct? Did you get it? Raise your hand, make sure you're answering this question. All of you should know what this is. Okay, so the inverse of multiply is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by what is being multiplied by n sub p. So by v sub s. And you want to do that so that this will cancel. So you get 1 times n sub p equals. And you're left with v sub p times n sub s divided by v sub s. See all those subscripts? They weren't that scary. You can just cross multiply and then solve for whatever variable you want. So even if you want to solve for n sub s, and you're just going to divide both sides by v sub p. So that is the end of the lesson. You can turn it off now.